people have walked away from their computer. But if you know that you're by a computer where you can't unmute, feel free to hit unmute. Hold on 1 second. Oh wait, never mind. You can't unmute yourself because I muted everyone. Hold on 1 second. You could, right, now you can unmute yourself. Thank you guys. You can unmute. I'll take the chat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amanda. Nice to see everybody again.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Amazing.
Bye, everybody. I'm gonna stay on the line for about 10 to 15 minutes if anybody has any questions. We're down to 78 people from 278 people, so I couldn't stick around for Q&A when it was 278 people. I already missed my 5 o'clock call, which is not a problem. The person will be okay. I will take any comments or questions. Does anybody have any burning questions for me?
I just saw this question several times in the comments. People were asking if these techniques work with intergenerational trauma. Do you have any experience or thoughts on that particular aspect?
Would you define intergenerational trauma?
Well, I guess it would be trauma that occurs within generations or trauma that is passed down to descendants because it isn't healed in previous generations.
Yeah, the way that I would say that goes into energy medicine. And the key is the past is always present, a la Donald Gruden. It doesn't matter whether it's because you had a traumatic birth, because you're holding on to intergenerational trauma. My grandmother had survived the Holocaust. She was in 2 concentration camps and escaped with both of them, watching everyone in her family be killed except for one nephew that she was able to rescue. So I am the descendant of her trauma, because when my grandmother got pregnant with my mother, I always have a hard time explaining this, so let me just make sure I get this right. I actually have to mute everybody out, because if I get distracted by sound, I'm not going to say this right. My grandmother, when she got pregnant with my mother in utero produced all of the eggs that she was going to have for the rest of her life in utero. So I am the egg that was present in my grandmother. Does that make sense? When my grandmother got pregnant. So her stress of even, how do I bring a child into this world? What if something like that happens again? Could have been put into my ovary, the X chromosome that I got from my mom, and then I got an X chromosome from my dad, was present within me. So there is what we know of that intergenerational experiences impact what genetic predispositions we have. But again, just because you have a genetic predisposition to something doesn't mean you activate that gene, right? So we know that the field of epigenetics is how our environment causes certain genetic genes to turn on and turn off. And your question around, do these techniques work to this? Absolutely, because it doesn't matter where it's come from. If your emotional response is present right now, the past is always present. There's a collective experience that those of us who are empathic, that can feel energy, are feeling right now. My grief right now is complex grief. I am grieving the loss of my city. Even though I'm quarantined out of Manhattan right now, I am grieving the loss of my father. I am grieving the loss of what other people are feeling, because it is collective. And I believe that every single human being is connected. So when I haven myself, I know that I know my energetic shift impacts the world around me. And so it's intergenerational. I think it's even still right here, right now.
Thank you for that. Very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, Mary Bridget.
Yes. Would havening help with panic attacks if you don't know the original source of your
Yep. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things about havening and EFT is that, and John Johnson is on the line, he's a practitioner. John, do you want to actually speak to it? Because you actually do more of this specific work. My work is, you're unmuted. I do positive psychology teaching and coaching. I do all this stuff, but you specialize in hypnosis and havening and these types of things, if I'm recalling properly. Do you want to speak to Mary Bridget's question?
Yes, you can, even though you may not know the source consciously of where the issue started, it's there in your mind and it's located in the body. So you can start with the body and you can trace it back through certain techniques to find the primary experience. From there, then you can work with the particular issue.
Yeah,
So
beautiful.
again,
Thank
through
you.
the body and through certain techniques, you can actually get to the source of what the issue is.
Yeah.
There are times where the mind will block off the source of the issue because it's so strong.
Yep.
So when that happens, the first law of life is self-preservation. That's what the mind is doing. So you may not even be able to know consciously where this issue is, but it's in the body and you know that something's going on. But so through that route, through the body, you can go backwards. Everything is related, mind, body, spirit, and the sequence, if you go from, let's say, mind to body, you can go backwards, body to mind.
Yep.
So definitely
Thank you, John.
can be a good source of this, plus additional techniques depending on the issue. But havening is a great start.
Yep. And it blows people's mind because we think we're not exposed to these tools and techniques that enable us to be empowered to control our own bodily response. Most people think that you need to relive the trauma in order to get it. And I actually remember I tried to get my mom to go to therapy once. And my mom would say to me things like, I hate talking. I don't like talking to people. Literally, if you sat down next to my mother, like the boys that I would bring home, have to be very selective if I was dating someone when they were ready to meet my mother, not because of what my mom was going to think about them, because I knew my mother would chew their ear off. She would sit them down and she would talk. And I'd be like, Mom, what are you talking about? You love talking to people. And then it hit me why she would never see a therapist. She believed, whatever the misnomer she had around therapeutic interventions, I believe that she thought that a therapist was going to make her relive the experience of losing her son, that they were going to say to her, so tell me what happened. And my mother, which I believe is like it brings up emotion to me. I haven't had a child yet. I can't imagine any worse thing happening to a human being. And Maria's already tapping herself unconsciously in the self-soothing of it, right? Like, I can't imagine a more stressful thing to experience than the loss of a child. And so I realized the reason my mom was so afraid to talk to somebody was because she didn't understand that you don't have to talk about it to talk about your feelings. And there are other options for healing than just talking. So she thought she was going to be asked to relive it. And that's why she never went there. But when you only know how to go there in one way with the one tool, you don't go there. But when you've got lots of tools, you can go there in lots of different ways. And so as John pointed out, the reason these strategies are so amazing is that your brain will know which neurons to wake up, and you just take the claws out of it all. And the stronger the emotional response, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. For me, when my clients come with a SUD, a subjective unit of distress and emotional distress, that's an 8 or a 9, those are actually easier to work with, right? John's nodding his head. Like when someone's at a 9 or a 10, I can get them to like a 1 or a 2 pretty quickly. It's the ones that are at a 3 or a 4 that are actually harder and trickier cases, because I have to wake up their neural patterning to understand what's actually going on back there. So the power of it is that you don't even need to know. And when I teach my coaching clients how to coach and not give counseling and not give therapy, and they realize that they don't need to know the details of what a person's experience is in order to be able to help them, it's like mind-boggling, because we're so used to thinking that we have to do it a certain way, and that's not the case, especially when you're using the body, and you can't put by reason, remove for reason that which wasn't put there in the first place. Any other comments or questions? Yeah, you're welcome, Mary Bridget. Yeah, Carrie. We'll take one more from Carrie, and I think we'll get going. Yeah, go ahead, Carrie.
So I have a son
who's been havened by me.
Yes.
By the way.
Oh my gosh. If you guys can, I can't tell you how much I recommend it. Something traumatic happened in middle school, and Amelia did havening to me, and it was gone in 15 minutes. And of course I remember it, but it's like, yeah. And it happened with a teacher, and I was able to look at it and think, gosh, what a sad woman to do that. and I never could see it through her point of view. And I got over being fired from a job by doing it to myself even. So this is so powerful. Amelia, I want my son who's 12 to learn this. And when he's like, in emotional sense, you can't talk to him. He's just, out there. But is there any way, and my son's a rebel, is there any way to try to teach him this, or any tricks or that where it could kind of like go through the back door, so to speak, that you would recommend?
You can do it to him. You can do it to him. The hard thing isn't just the fact your child's having a strong emotional response. It's that he's a rebel. So what you really need is not the how do I haven or tap or down regulate my son's sympathetic response. What you actually need is coaching on how to coach a rebel, how to get him to actually think of wanting to do it himself, because his stress response is, you're making me do something. And so with rebels, you actually want to implement what, and those of you who are not familiar with what I'm talking about, I'm referring to Gretchen Rubin has a concept of 4 tendencies, and Marin's grinning because she got so much out of knowing more about herself. She's a rebel too. Carrie, talk to Marin, because as a rebel, she's going to have more insight around what she would have hoped her parents would have done for her when she was having an emotional experience, right? Like, learn from your fellow rebels as to what to do, 1. 2, Gretchen Rubin has this words to help us understand what is our tendency in trying to make something happen. And with rebels, you want to give them information, you want to give them the consequences, and you let them choose. So you can say to him, I know that you're getting really stressed out right now, and just, and I know that when you let yourself feel this way, it really makes for an upset stomach. And I know that your tummy really hurts when you do this. And you've got options. You can do the butterfly tap. That's another one from tapping, and that can help you calm down. You can tap if you wanted to calm down, and you also know you can do havening if you want to calm down. And if you don't want to be calm, you don't have to be calm. And it's you giving him the ability to choose. You choose that. So it's more about, how do you do that? How do you speak to identity? How do you let the rebel know what their consequences are? Speak to, I know you're the kind of kid that likes to be able to be in control of yourself. And so I just want to remind you, you've got lots of options around how you can control yourself. Give them the information, let him know how the information would impact them, and then let him choose, which can be hard, right? Seeing your kid struggle, you're the one who needs havening. If he wants to continue to be stressed out, haven yourself, because guess what? Probably a large part of his stress response is that he's stressing you out. If you can calm yourself, you'll probably calm him down too, energetically.
Yes. Thank you, Amelia.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And we get Marin's thumbs up too.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Rebel.
Yeah. Turn to one another. Any other comments or questions from you guys? Yeah, Deborah. You have to unmute yourself, Deborah.
Mute. Yep.
There you go.
Hi, Amelia. I was just wondering, as you were talking with this last lady, in EFT, I know they do surrogate tapping. So can you do surrogate havening for someone else, doing it on yourself and sending thought waves to the other person?
I mean, from an energy medicine perspective, I believe that works. I believe that what actually is happening when you do this is not just that you are down regulating your own nervous system, but I believe if you're activating the energy field of your heart, we know that the energy field of our heart projects outward. So I believe you'd be able to do that through loving kindness meditation, or through surrogate havening, or through surrogate tapping. I haven't seen it studied. I would put that all under the umbrella of energy medicine. It is how thoughts translate into waves and impact the energetic matrix around us, and that thought vibration can happen. And love, we know that the magnetic field of the heart is a very powerful magnetic field. They used to think that the energy that was produced as a result of our heartbeat was just like waste product, like they thought it was sort of meaningless, but we actually know that it's a very specific type of field. So I say, hey, it can't hurt, right? It absolutely can't hurt. It can only do well, particularly if what you're doing is spoken from affirmationally, meaning don't get sick, don't get sick, don't get sick. You're still imagining sickness in your mind. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may your heart be at peace. Loving kindness meditation is a really beautiful place to go to. Thanks, Deborah. Maureen, you had a question about your daughter, multiple
Mhm.
traumas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. In fact, while I was listening to you just about 20 minutes ago, I got a message from her, sort of basically on her Facebook post recounting her multiple traumas triggered by a dream that she had last night. So I've been thinking about havening for her, and we talked about that in Better Than Before. I know I'm almost in tears right now just because I'm wanting to know if you do have stacked traumas, and she has more than I have fingers, any one of which, would be enough to take an average person down. What happens with havening? Is it a peeling of an onion, or is it re-triggering things that are uncovered? No?
The bigger they are, the easier they fall sometimes.
Wow.
What's really important for you, Marin, is for you not to feel her as a victim or feel as a victim. I'm not making any promises, but I will tell you, and John nodded his head as a practitioner as well, that it's not that when it actually all pushes on top of each other, it's like, oh, there's that big chunk, I can take it out, as opposed to little pebbles that you're trying to like find with tweezers, firstly. Secondly, the hardest part for you, Marin, is that you are a rebel of a rebel.
Yeah.
And what I'm learning for parents that I work with that are rebel parents of rebel kids is you think that because you are a rebel, because you get your child, you think you know how to parent a rebel. And what ends up happening, I'm finding, and I don't know if this resonates with you, but I'm working with one set of parents where the mother is an obliger and the father is a rebel and the kid is a rebel. So the dad's like, I know how to parent my kid because I'm a rebel and he's a rebel. He's like a mini me, but he's actually telling his kid what to do. And I'm like, when I tell you what to do, what do you do? Right? So he's trying to parent as a parent, as opposed to what you need when you're parenting a rebel. You as a rebel have to forget that you get rebels, and you actually have to be a coach, which is still the same thing. Wow. I watched this really great webinar that Amelia put together about trauma. I found it really super fascinating. And if you want to watch it, it's available, but not be attached to the outcome. If you find her the havening practitioner, if you do the work for her, here's a list of havening practitioners. I met this guy named John Johnson who was on the call. You want to email him? Here, let me make the appointment for you. She's going to resist getting better if you want her to get better. Even when she wants to get better. It's just the unfortunate, hilarious nature of rebels. But man, we love you rebels, because you guys, you keep life spicy for us. You rock the status quo. You keep us on our toes. We love you rebels. So I think that's the harder thing that you're facing. Don't be so concerned about her past. While the past is always present, it does not have to have the emotional charge. And it's not, yes, there's absolutely, if she were just to be left as is in her life right now, yeah, she is predisposed, not just her pre-existing conditions. She is predisposed to doing worse. However, she can get better. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the autoimmune disease related stuff, one of the big things that we look at a lot around when people use tapping, hypnosis, havening, some of these psychosensory approaches, is that you get the down regulation of the inflammatory response, and you have a healing happening through the whole body. I really believe that all we need to do is give our body the right conditions and it will heal itself.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. We did it, friends. Thank you all so much. There were some questions around there. I will be sharing the YouTube. I will be resending the email recording of all of this. If you, the link to sign up for the Better Than Before program, I'll type it into the chat box again. We would love to have you. Tomorrow is day 5. You can join on day 15. The price will always be the same and or free if you feel like you cannot afford it. If you know anybody that is struggling, again, daily support, being a part of a community, I think is the thing that we need to get us through it. And you get the Bounce Back Better program as well, the mental skills. And so the aim of this 30-day challenge is we're going to master our mind in the next 25 days. So I hope you guys will join us for that. And if you guys need me, you can reach me at amelia@theflourishingcenter.com. Thank you guys so much. Be well, everybody.
So much.
Thank you, Amelia.
Thank you. Thank you.
That'll be something. So I'll stay on for a second. What was your question, Claudia?
Yes, thank you. Hi, Amelia. This was fantastic. I have a question. I live in New Jersey. I don't know if you can recommend any haven therapists or tapping.
type in havening techniques and find them on Facebook. So there's a Facebook group, and just type in, if you look up havening techniques into Google, you'll find practitioners in your area. And right now, most practitioners are working remotely anyway. So regardless, you could be working with John, who's on the line. You could be working with practitioners in the UK, because everyone's doing remote anyway right now, and it's just as effective.
Great. Thank you so much, Amelia. That was
You're
fantastic.
welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye.